Once again, good morning. Please join me in saluting our teacher, the Blessed and Worthy One, the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhi tatta. May all beings near or far, known or unknown, be well, happy and peaceful. And may all of us too be well, happy and peaceful. Sukhi hontu. I'm very delighted to be here in the Buddhist Fellowship in Singapore to meet with everyone again. So before I proceed, I'd like to express my thanks and appreciation for the kind invitation by Buddhist Fellowship and its committee members for me to be back to do some service here. And it's a long day of service. I'm supposed to teach in the afternoon as well, probably some discussions towards the evening as well. So as I used to say, please make use of foreign labor as much as it profits all of us. Yeah? And the person who profits the most from this service is, among them is myself. So I don't mind doing it the whole day because to indulge in the Dhamma is a self-indulgence. Yeah, to indulge in anything else is unsafe. So, I was made to understand that for the past few weeks, we have been talking about a very beautiful collection of sayings of the Buddha called the Dhammapada. So everyone is already acquainted with this collection called the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada belongs to a collection of 15 books from the Khuddaka Nikaya, which is part of the collection of the Buddha's sayings. Yeah, some of the Buddha's disciples' teachings in the form of suttas and gathas. You know, suttas means discourses. Suttas means Dhamma talk. Yeah. If we were the Buddha and whatever we say every day would one day be recorded as sutta. So whatever the Buddha said when he met with people, when he gave teachings, whether people asked him or whether he voluntarily gave teachings on his own accord, those are recorded as suttas. Yeah? And some of the teachings given by the disciples also were recorded as suttas. Not many, but prominent disciples such as Sariputta, Ananda, Kashyapa, and so on. Their teachings also have that kind of status as a sutta. But the Dhammapada is not a sutta in the form that it is not prose, it is not in complete sentences, but they are in verses. Yeah, it's like poetry. It's actually a Dhamma poem. But this beauty of the Dhammapada, not in terms of its language and poetic expression in meter, in sound, in meaning. Its beauty lies also in its wisdom. So these are very concise sayings of the Buddha, teachings of the Buddha on 300 odd occasions. Yeah. Many of them are also found in various suttas. You know, so when the disciples of the Buddha collected his teachings after the Buddha's parinibbana, after Buddha passed away, they collected his teachings. Some of those beautiful verses were also taken from the suttas and put in the Dhammapada. So you can sometimes in the suttas see the same verses. Yeah? So they are recollected and put in 26 chapters of the Dhammapada. And these are among the oldest and the most beautiful, most poetic, most meaningful, most loved sayings of the Buddha. Yeah? As we know, the teachings of the Buddha, if you collect them, they are about 45 times the volume of the Bible, the New and Old Testament combined. Yeah? So that's why I admire our Christian friends. They can carry the Bibles around. It will be quite a hard time for us to carry the Tipitaka around. You know. But in all those teachings, there are certain collections, such as the Dhammapada, which is very useful. I used to bring along a Dhammapada wherever I travel to. And in fact, on this trip to Singapore, after so many years, I still brought along only one book, and that book is the Dhammapada. Maybe out of habit already. So whenever I travel, I'll just have to take a book and put in a bag. And it happened to be the Dhammapada again. Yeah. And why is it so wonderful to bring along the Dhammapada? Because when you open up the Dhammapada and read those verses, it gives you a kind of insight. It gives you a kind of understanding in the Dhamma. There are certain verses that are quite, what you call, enigmatic. It's not so easy, especially the translation. Yeah, even the Pali is enigmatic. But there are certain verses that are very plain, simple, and direct. So when we are able to access the Dhammapada, we are able to hear, for example, ourselves, what the Buddha said. Yeah, so you can try that. And for today, as a continuation of this Dhammapada course, I've chosen a few verses for the morning and in the afternoon, different verses, but from the same chapter called the chapter on the Buddha Vagga. And this morning, I've chosen only 3 Dhammapada verses, including the most famous ones. Some of the most popular ones, you have probably heard it hundreds of times before this. So if you think you have heard it before, don't worry, unless you're enlightened. But if you're not enlightened, then you have to listen to it again. Yeah, you have to listen to it again and again until you're enlightened. Yeah, but if we are not enlightened, then just open our minds to absorb as much as possible from the teachings. Okay. What we are going to do, we are going to read the Pali text. Everyone has got a piece of this note. Yeah. We are going to learn to read some Pali, a proper pronunciation of Pali, and the meanings of all those words are given below. And then at the reverse page, you have the English translation, some notes, history, and summary. Okay? Yeah. I'll just give a background story on these 3 verses that were spoken early in the year, in the first quarter of the year when the Buddha was traveling. That was right after the winter season, and it was a very good time in winter and spring to travel from place to place. And when they were traveling from place to place, the monks noticed that people throughout northern India observe Uposatha days. You know Uposatha? Yeah? Uposatha means observance days. People in northern India, they come together on the full moon days and the new moon days. Yeah? In Hokkien, we say Che It Zap Go. New moon, Che It, and full moon days, Purnima, Zap Go. Yeah, Che It Zap Go. Chinese also have Che It Zap Go. Yeah? In India, when the monks were traveling, they say, different religious groups come together. They have devotional songs. They have strict practices of meditation. They have fasting. They have sacrifices like fire sacrifice, water sacrifice, even animal sacrifices on these special days. So this has gone back time immemorial. Yeah, people have been observing the moon, the skies, and say that there is something special when there is no moon, on the new moon. And there's something special, more special, on the full moon. And that's why on the full moon you have heightened cases of lunacy, lunatics. It has to do with the moon as well, the gravitational pull of the moon vis-a-vis the earth. And then the tides are the highest on the full moon. The tides are the highest during full moons. And because a large part of our bodies, our physical bodies, are made up of liquid, so we too are somehow affected. People seem to be more emotional. People seem to be more sensitive during full moons. If you're oversensitive, you become a lunatic. Yeah. So be very careful when it comes to full moons. We have to calm our senses and calm our minds. Yeah? Otherwise, we are not mindful of the changes that happen in our chemical composition and in our mind. We respond to events differently when it is close to the full moon or during full moons. Okay? So that is why from time immemorial, people in northern India had been observing Uposatha days, observance days, close to the lunar events. And at one time, at Veluvana in Rasgir, when the Buddha arrived, it was close to Uposatha day, and Venerable Ananda, the close attendant of the Buddha, asked the Blessed One, so other religions have these kinds of ceremonies and sacrifices and rites and rituals when it comes to Uposatha days. Now, how about the Buddhist? Because you didn't tell us what we should do during Uposatha. Is there such a teaching from Buddhas in the past? Meaning, before this Buddha, before Shakyamuni Buddha, how about Buddhas in the past? Did they say anything about observing Uposatha? And the Buddha recollected and saw that, yes, they did introduce something for Uposatha days. And that is why today, for lay people, we have the Attasil. We have the practice of the 8 precepts and meditation and fasting for lay people. Monks do that every day. But for lay people, we keep the 5 precepts. On Uposatha days, new moon and full moon, we observe the 8 precepts. We renounce the use of comforting things. We renounce the makeup of the body. We renounce dressing up nicely. We just very modestly, very simply, a lot of renunciation. We give up food in the evening. We give up dancing. We give up singing, music, entertainment, shows, concerts, and socializing. We give up all that thing periodically, every 2 weeks. During the new moon, and 2 weeks later is Chapgo, during the full moon. And 2 weeks later is Che'it. And another 2 weeks is Chapgo, Che'it, Chapgo, like that. So every 2 weeks, lay people also get to practice renunciation, which is very important for spiritual progress. So this is what we do today. Now, at the time when Ananda asked the Buddha at Veluvana, the Buddha mentioned these 3 verses. And today they are contained in the Dhammapada. It's a beautiful, beautiful verse. Okay, so shall we learn them together today? Yeah. Now, I want everyone to learn how to pronounce it properly, and please memorize it. Yeah, we have to memorize this by the end of today. Yeah, it can be done. So at least the first verse, which is very, very popular and common, and it has been translated to more than 100 languages. This verse number 183. Okay, let's look at the original Pali text. I read, Sabba papasa akkaranang kussalasa upasampada saccita pariyoda panang etang buddhana sasanang. Easy? Yeah. Luckily, this is in Roman script ABC. Okay? If it is in Indian script, when you recite it, you also cry at the same time. Okay, repeat after. Sabba papasa. Oh, slowly. Listen carefully. Sab. S-A-B, sab. B-A-ba. Sabba. Papasa. Yes. Papasa. Notice there are two S there. So both are audible. Sabba papasa. When you see the A on top, there is a bar. That's called A macron. Yeah, that's the sign, the macron sign. It means a long vowel. Ah. Yeah. If there is no A on top, it's just ah. If it is a bar on top, a macron, then you say ah. So it should be read sabba papasa. Akaranang. Akaranang. Look at the M at the back. There is a dot below. That means the sound is different. The sound is ang. Akaranang. Not akaranam, okay? But akaranang. Very good. Actually, everyone sounds quite professional. Okay, let's do sabba papasa akaranang. Kusalasa upasangpada. Upasangpada. Sacitta pariyodapanang. Now the double T again, double consonant, so it's sacitta pariyodapanang. Yeah, etang. Not etam, but etang. Buddhana sasanang. Now Buddhana, the B, there is a double D, right? So Buddha. D-H-A, the H is also audible. Buddha. Buddhang. Buddhang saranang. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Yeah, that's the right refuge. If you pronounce wrongly, you have gone to the wrong refuge. Buddhang saranang gacchami. You recite that with spirit and devotion and with joy and appreciation. You know, so difficult to take refuge in the Buddha. Many people take refuge where? In Marina, Sentosa. You know, so many places people take refuge. Joa. So they go into the mall. Oh, this one is their refuge. Very few people take refuge in the Buddha. So when we say it, we must say with a lot of joy, with a lot of spirit, with a lot of understanding, a lot of gratitude, appreciation. That's how we do it. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Feel it or not? Okay, go back and practice 108 times. For the morning and afternoon repeat. Yeah. So this is etang buddhana sasanang. Sasanang. Very good. So let's settle with this verse first. Okay, you turn around and see what is the meaning in English. Not to commit any evil, to cultivate the good, and to purify one's own mind. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. Okay, those in brackets, they are in parentheses. They are my additions to clarify the meaning. Right, and the notes there. Not to commit any evil. Evil, I say, is perhaps too strong a word. Yeah, it means doing anything that is unwholesome, which is out of greed, aversion, and delusion. These are called the 3 unwholesome roots, right? So on. So this is the translation, the rough translation of the Pali. But when you translate in Pali, there is something lost. Yeah, either you translate to English or translate to Chinese. Something is lost in translation. This verse can be expressed very commonly in Mandarin. Yeah, you probably know. Many people probably have heard. 助恶莫作，众善奉行，致敬其意，是诸佛教. Yeah. Very beautiful poetic expression in Mandarin as well for this verse. So it's a very common verse translated to more than 100 languages. But nothing beats the depth of the meaning in Pali. That's why we introduce today's session the original Pali text. Let's look more carefully into the text itself. Yeah? What does it mean? And why did the Buddha teach this to the monks? So remember the story, Ananda asked the Buddha on Uposatha days, what did the Buddhas in the past teach? And the Buddha looked into the past and said, all Buddhas since the past, the one that set the precedent, all other Buddhas also taught the same thing. And this is what they taught. Sabba papas akaranang. Sabba means everything. Semua. Sarva in Sanskrit means everything. In Pali it becomes sabba. Sabba. Papasa. Papa means unwholesome activities. Papa, unwholesome conduct. You know? What is unwholesome? Yeah? Unwholesome means things that make us a poorer character. Yeah? Things that bring about suffering. Things that bring about unhappiness eventually. That is the definition of unwholesomeness. For example, when we have a lot of greed and desire, eventually we will face with disappointment, dissatisfaction, and discontent. Correct or not? Yeah? Amazingly, just 3 days ago, when I was at the Nalanda Center, I was going out for lunch. As I came downstairs, about to go out, there was a boy sitting there, about in his mid-20s. And when I came in, he said, Bratan, you have to help me. And I said, oh, I have never seen this boy before. I don't know who he is. But he said, Bratan, you have to help me. I said, come. Then I sat with him. I said, what seems to be the matter? He said, I'm suffering. I said, what are you suffering from? I couldn't sleep. Why can't you sleep? I think too much. What are you thinking of? Everything. What kind of everything? He said, I have many desires. I have ambition. I want to do well in many things. And I push myself. So now he has gone a little bit overboard with that thinking, with that desire. And he explained to me very clearly. He was very rational. He said, I said, do you know the root cause of your unhappiness and suffering? He said, yes, I desire too much. My craving is the root cause. He knows he can explain, but he's still suffering. When we know, it's not enough. We have to stop. Yeah? We know craving gives rise to eventually discontent. You know anger gives rise to eventually, what kind? Unhappiness, a lot of suffering. When you ask, hey, do you know your anger gives you a lot of suffering? Yes, I know. But knowing that anger gives rise to suffering doesn't free us from suffering. We have to stop getting angry, stop being greedy, stop being foolish. These are the 3 roots of unwholesomeness. Lobha, a lot of desire, based on discontent. Everyone wants a lot of things. One thing. Correct or not? Yeah? Yeah. Why we want? Because we are so poor. Poor not because you don't have money. Poor because you don't have contentment. When we have contentment, we don't have so many desires. When we develop contentment, there's a new telephone that has been launched, smartphone. Oh, mine is working well, it's okay. There's a new restaurant opened down the street. This one works quite well for me, so that's okay. There's a new entertainment center, a new mall being opened. You say, oh, my NTUC is quite all right. You see. When we have contentment, we have a lot of peace. When we have desire, we take a lot of action to fulfill those desires. We get ourselves so busy, no time to come to BF, no time to meditate. Sunday also no time. Very busy. Too many desires. If you see, look honestly into our lives. We have time if we have few desires. We have time if we have contentment. But a person with a lot of desires will never have enough time, and will never have true joy as well. When we get something already, we are happy, get excited for a while. 2 weeks later, we say, I better go for an upgrade. I better go somewhere. When you have traveled the world already, you're waiting to see places out of the way one, off the beaten track. Always have that desire, always pushed by desire, pushing ourselves by desire. The Buddha says, na kahapana vasena titik kamesu vijati. Apasada dukkha kama iti vinyaya pandito. Not by being so wealthy that you can afford many things, that you are going to be happy, that you are going to be able to fulfill your every whims and desires. If you are wealthy, you can fulfill a lot of your desires. But by fulfilling your desires also, more desires will arise. It's like no matter how much wealth you have, you cannot fill up a bottomless pit. You throw in your billions and billions, because it is bottomless. The craving and desire is a bottomless well. When you throw everything in, it's not going to fill up. And therefore, it means we are not going to get fulfilled if we just keep on chasing after our desires. Yeah. And then the Buddha says, api dibesu kamesu. This even with out of the world desires, even a heavenly wealth and so on, still we cannot fulfill our sensual craving. So the wise person will understand this. If we look clearly, honestly, sincerely into the power of wealth versus the power, the overwhelming power of desire and craving, then we will see that no matter how much wealth I have, the power of desire and craving is even more scary. It's more than I can afford. Yeah. So we know the roots of our suffering. Knowing itself will not free us from suffering. We have to stop it. Yeah. And to stop it sometimes for certain people is not easy. Just like the boy, I asked him 3 days ago, well, you explained to me and I agree with you that those are the causes of suffering. It's not just your suffering, but everyone's suffering. It's caused by the same thing. Why don't you stop it? I just asked him, why don't you stop it? And he said, I tried, but I just couldn't. Why? Why we cannot stop our desire or our anger and so on? Because over time, we have been indulging in them. We made that our habit. We are habitually full of desires. Habits are difficult to overcome if they are very strong and overpowering, right? We are addicted and obsessed with craving already. Some people are addicted to anger, obsessed with anger. You ask them, don't you know this is bad for you? Bad for you physically and mentally? I know. But the next turn, When there is opportunity, that was their natural instinctive reaction. Due to what? Due to the power of habit. Yeah? So, knowing the causes of suffering, seeing them, is a very positive step, but it is just the first step. Following that, we have to start doing something right about it, and that is not to indulge. Whenever there is a desire that comes out, you cannot tell you, never mind lah, one more day only, one more time only, one more slice only, one more sip only, one more glass only, one more trip only, one more million only. Yeah. Yeah. We always give in, we indulge. Every time we indulge, that habit becomes stronger, more rooted in our psyche, more difficult to eradicate. Yeah. So we weaken it by not indulging ourselves in unwholesome things. Many people, they stop indulging themselves in wholesome things. But we should stop indulging ourselves in unwholesome things. That's the meaning of papa se. Papa means poor. Yeah? Literally means poverty. Papa, miskin. Miskin papa. So this is something that causes our character to be poorer. Yeah? Our character is good, but with unwholesome habits and unwholesome actions, our character becomes a poorer one. So we should stop indulging in unwholesome conduct. And how do we conduct ourselves? We conduct ourselves through 3 doors. The Buddha says, through the door of our body, yeah, we do things, we act. Through the door of speech, yeah, we say things, we express ourselves. Sometimes we express ourselves in many words. Sometimes we express ourselves with very few words. Sometimes we express ourselves with bad words. Sometimes we express ourselves with no words. Only one look, and then that's, and that's a body, body expressing itself. Yeah? And then we also conduct ourselves in thoughts. This is very dangerous because we may not act all the time or verbalize, but we do think all the time. Yeah? Most untrained minds cannot stop thinking. Just day and night thinking, before go to sleep thinking, early morning wake up thinking, never stop. Therefore, this becomes a problem. If we do not weaken the unwholesome roots, then most of the thoughts are connected with the unwholesome roots. Now, honestly, just talk about yesterday and today. Don't have to go back too far. Talk about yesterday and today. Can you still remember your thoughts for the past 2 days? If we were not mindful, we can't recollect our thoughts. But if we were mindful, we can see our thoughts. Some of them anyway, most of them escape us. When you wake up this morning, what was your first thought? Who can recall your first thought when you got up in the morning? Can I sleep some more? Yeah. Yeah. What other thoughts are there? Yeah. Yes. Attending Brother Tan's talk. Ah. Okay, you got free lunch. Very good. Yeah. Anyone wake up think of, oh, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. 2 weeks ago during Uposatha day, I woke up such a condition. I woke up just like that during Uposatha day. It was 1 day past Uposatha actually. We have been keeping the 8 precepts. And the Wednesday morning when I got up, the first thought I could remember was Buddha. Buddha means Buddha. Awakening, awakening, awaken one, awaken one. And tears streamed down. Was very, very happy. This is rare. This is rare. And it's very, very joyful. Okay? But most of the time, people don't wake up to such wholesome thoughts, the first thought. The first thought of the day mostly are connected to the past or to the future. When you wake up, you say, oh, 我要去做工了. You know. Correct or not? Oh, you know, what bo gao kun? You know, Doi Ku Zhou Gang Liao is future, right? I have to go. Bo Gao Kun is because we slept late last night. It's either to the future or to the past. You know? Then the next thing is, what am I ki zhou gang? I want to sleep on some more, can or not? That came that thought already. Then you remembered something from the past again. Ayo, but I promised my boss I have to do this for him already. That's something we recall from the past, the memory, you know. Then suddenly it dawned upon us, Kinjit lei pai. You forgot, you thought it's Monday. Yeah? Then, can sleep already. Very happy and satisfied, right? Then only you recall, Brother Tan coming. Bo bian de hobin. You have to go. So you see, these kind of thoughts people have, mundane thoughts every day. When you wake up, it's either something from the past or something in the future. Where are we at present? Who is ever at present? When we go back to the past, that memory invoke unwholesome roots, either greed, desire, attachment, anger, dissatisfaction, or delusion and foolishness. When we have a memory, a thought of the future, it also is connected to desire. Correct or not? I have to go to work. Then the negative reaction towards aversion towards it. So whenever we are not at the present moment, we always indulge ourselves in these unwholesome qualities. Now, at the present moment, now all of us carry the burdens of problems and suffering. Yeah? Who has no suffering here? Who has suffering here? Okay, middle section only. No, at this moment, do you have suffering? At this very moment, do you have suffering? Not much. Correct or not? Not much suffering. At this very moment, are you still breathing? Heart still beating? Brain still working? Still listening? What's the problem? There's not much problem. But when you go back to the past, I forgot to do that. Past already, deadline, due. There becomes the thought, worry, anxiety, unhappiness, fear. Then you think, getting here was a chore. Then another memory from the past, unhappy. When you see someone, I see Joe today, let's say if we had conflict in the past, when I see him here today, I say, this person, siam. Zian again, siam. That's why everyone only faced the Buddha. Buddha had no conflict with anyone. See? Did we have conflict today? No. Came in just said, hi, good morning. No conflict. Why we have to siam here and siam there? Memories of the past. If we stay at the present moment, last night's quarrel, this morning didn't quarrel. Bin mian o, chui mian tu tu. Correct or not? We can smile. Last night we had a quarrel with this person, but that's last night's version. This morning's version, this person totally changed already. Shouldn't we too? That's understanding Dhamma. Last night quarrel is last night's business, past already. Today when we see each other, we can smile. We should start our day at present. So when you wake up, if you can train the mind, the first thought is at present, you feel the surrounding and say, I'm grateful, I am alive. We say this without knowing the significance and the weight of what we are saying. We are still alive. Because some people don't wake up from their sleep. And some people, when they see the sunrise, they never get to see the sunset. So the present moment we have actually very little problem. Yeah? But if we carry the past and we carry the burdens even of the future, then it is a burden too heavy for us. Okay? So knowing our causes of suffering, stop it. Instead, kusalasa upasampada, be skillful. Yeah? Be skillful in what you call developing ourselves. Kusala actually doesn't mean good. Yeah? It doesn't mean do good. For example, the Chinese translation, it says 众善奉行. Just go ahead and conduct yourself, cultivate yourself, do whatever is good. But in Pali, it is not that meaning. The Pali meaning is very comprehensive and deep. Kusala means skillful. Yeah? Skillful for what ends, for what purpose? Skillful to attain Nibbana. Skillful to attain deep wisdom, insight, and peace. Skillfulness towards attaining wisdom, insight, and peace. That kind of cultivation is called kusala. Okay, so it's not just doing good. Yeah. Oh, I didn't do any evil, but mindful of evil. Didn't do is one thing. Akaranang means to stop. To stop means even in the mind. Don't indulge. Sometimes they say, what bo me lang? I never scold anyone. But inside, keep on scolding, condemning. But when I meet the person, I don't want to scold the person. I only siam the person. I only siam here, siam there. I only avoid this, avoid that. But I never say anything. I didn't do wrong. But in the mind, you're full of all these defilements, full of all these unwholesome qualities. We should akaranang. Akara means mai zo. Karan means zo. Akara mai zo. Mai zo liao. Stop. Don't continue with the unwholesome qualities, churning and generating and blending and all kinds of things that become very, very deeply rooted in our habits. Stop. After that only, more meaningful when we can develop skillfulness. Yeah? So it is not doing good, it is being skillful towards wisdom, peace, and insights. Yeah. Kusalasa upasampada. Upasampada means to cultivate. Yeah. What are the skillful things that we can cultivate? Chief among them, of course, is mindfulness. Mindfulness. Apamado amatapadang. Mindfulness is the key to awakening. Yeah. Another thing that is very skillful is yoga. Yoga not in our normal yoga that you learn in a yoga class. Yoga here means meditation. Yeah. This yoga and the outside yoga is different. Yeah. Yoga ve jayati buri. When we meditate, it gives rise to insight and wisdom. So meditation, making the mind tranquil and peaceful, is also kusala, also very skillful. When we are mindful, we can see the quality of the mind, the thoughts of the mind, the state of the mind. When the state of the mind is angry, and then the thoughts of the mind, the activities of the mind is an expression of that anger. Thoughts that are angry, thoughts that are unhappy, we immediately stop it. So sati or mindfulness is one of the best skillful qualities that everyone should develop. Another one is called tranquility or concentration, samadhi, yoga. Calm ourselves, so that we don't react indulging in our habits. We don't react instinctively, being driven by our habits. We have this period of calmness, and the way you deal with work issues or family issues, for example, children, in the past we just indulge our habits and we will respond in a negative way, mostly. But now with a lot of calmness, with a lot of clarity, we can respond in a compassionate way. The way we react and respond is totally different with or without samadhi and sati. So these are examples of skillful qualities which we could develop. Okay. Another skillful quality is gratitude. With gratitude, our attitude is different. The best attitude is gratitude. For example, sitting here, I'm very grateful for the cushion prepared, for the environment, for the ambience, for the air conditioning. Grateful, right? And any situation, we can be grateful for something. So that gratitude is a skillful quality that gives us a sense of humility. When we are not grateful, we are not humble. For example, you cook after marketing and all the laborious things in the kitchen you did, and then you put food on the table, and your children come and say, not nice. You say, what煮個半死咧? Then they say, what 食個半死咧? So, nobody is happy. I see. So, but when we are grateful, our mind, we don't have a sense of entitlement that I'm entitled to happiness, I'm entitled to comfort, I'm entitled to love, I'm entitled to respect. That sense of entitlement is driven by ego. So when we are grateful, that ego cannot grow. It just becomes weakened. We are grateful, knowing that we owe a lot of our comfort, happiness, and even existence to the grace of others, to the generosity of others. So that ego cannot grow bigger and hurt us. So it just diminishes. And we become more humble as a result. Humble or humility, in Latin, the word humus means earth. It means being down to earth. The Pali word for humility means nivata. Nivata. Nivata means no hot air. Bo hong, bo tau hong. A lot of hot air is very proud, very conceited. The Pali word for humility is nivata, no hot air. Just deflate ourselves like that. And then we are down to earth. So that is also a skillful quality. With these two, then we can go on. Sācita pariyopadapanang. Sācita. Citta means our mind. Sācita, one's own mind. Pariyodapanang. Gradually purify. Purify from what? From the stains of defilements. There are major defilements and there are long-term defilements also. And they are very deep-rooted defilements. It's just like stains, Some are easy to sweep away, but some are so mixed up with our personality and psyche that we have to have supreme right effort to extract them from our minds. So it is a gradual process how we can purify our minds. And we cannot purify someone else's mind. Otherwise, the Buddha would have done us a great favor. Okay, come, Ananda, lai. Hum. Or pour water, or whatever, That's not what the Buddha taught. Today there's a lot of teaching like this. Oh, don't worry, we can, wash away your karma, wash away your defilements, and so on. If the Buddha could, he would. So in the name of the Buddha, when we do all these things, we are not representing his teachings, we are misrepresenting his teachings. That's not Dhamma, that's Adhamma. Adhamma means against Dhamma. What the Buddha taught was the best way, the most effective way, to free ourselves from suffering. And that is, firstly, don't indulge our unwholesome habits. Don't continue doing them. Knowing is one thing. Please stop it. Okay? Can stop? Yeah? Okay. In your mind now, think of one habit which is damaging to your happiness. Think of it. I'm sure many are aware of it. How many people are aware of it? Damaging to your own happiness, man. Okay. Acknowledge it. Is it damaging? Yes. Is it wholesome? Answer. Can you make effort to stop? Yes? Promise? We have promise means reminding ourselves again and again, reminding ourselves that, if I continue with this, it's going to be damaging, more and more damaging. It's like the glass is broken And before I can mend it together, I smash it again. And then the next time I smash it again and I smash it again. I basically pulverize it, And I cannot just bring it together and become wholesome again. It is now broken. It has become unwholesome. So we have to stop doing that. Okay? So that in relation to our base desire, vulgar desires, cravings, anger, jealousy, grudge, enmity, delusion, foolishness, and the rest. This afternoon I'm going to talk about something that is very important, what to do with our foolishness. Because everyone thinks we are wise. So it's not my problem, I'm not foolish. But how do we see, how do we overcome this? This is something very important. Okay? So this is the teaching of the Buddha. Stop doing us a disfavor and start practicing the skillful way and purify one's own mind. This mind, wondrous, luminous, but easily latch onto things. It is very easy to have upadana develop, attachment develop. It's therefore when we reach out, when we grasp onto things, and when we attach to things, it's very easy for the mind to be stained. Very few stainless minds, like stainless steel, stainless mind, very, very few. Very easy to be stained because very easy for the mind to reach out and grasp things. And whatever you touch, you get a part of. So the first thing is not to always grasp, and to withdraw the mind, to practice renunciation. Renunciation is not what you call going to the temple, shaving, stay for a month in robes. There are many levels of renunciation. Renouncing evil deeds just by observing the 5 precepts is a form of renunciation. Practicing mindfulness is to renounce unmindfulness, which is a very important thing. That is renunciation. Whenever there is a base desire that comes up, whenever there is this strong anger, which usually we would lash out, but now we withhold ourselves and let go of that anger. Let go again. It comes again. Let go again. Let go again. That's renunciation. Okay. Vipassana is renunciation. So it's not just shaving the head and putting on robes. That's the external form of renunciation. The Buddha taught the internal forms of renunciation. This is the path also to purify one's own mind. Okay? So this is the first verse. Not to indulge in the base, unwholesome tendencies and habits, to cultivate whatever that is skillful, that gears us towards wisdom, insight, and peace, and to purify our own minds, to abandon and eradicate defilements. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. From the past to the present, Sakyamuni Buddha, they have been teaching the same Dhamma. And the next Buddha that comes also, Buddha said, is going to teach the same Dhamma. So this summary of the Dhamma encapsulates the whole Noble Eightfold Path. You understand this? So this is a very beautiful verse. Again, Sabba Papasa Akaranang. Kusalasa Upasampada. Sachita Pariyodapanang. Etang Buddhana Sasanang. Khanti Paramang Tapo Titika. Nibbanang Paramang Vadhanti Buddha. Nahi Pabhajito Parupagati. Samano hoti parang vihethayanto. Very good. Certain parts. Khanti paramang tappo titika. This is what the Buddha continued to say. Khanti, everyone knows. Very famous word. It means patient endurance. Yeah, the ability to endure. Usually we endure unpleasant things. Yeah, physical things like heat, hunger and thirst, or tiredness. Yeah, what you call exhaustion, or sickness and pain. You know, this is physical endurance. Something unpleasant, but it's okay. We don't let it affect us negatively. Okay, and also mental endurance. Yeah, when people are criticizing us, spreading bad things about us, or scolding us directly, or using their sarcasm, or using politicking and so on, harming us, we also can endure that suffering. So khanti and soracha, patience and endurance, these two are a pair. They come together. Khanti means patience. Soracha means endurance. They are the highest form of discipline. Yeah, tapo here literally means self-control or abstinence. The highest form of discipline. Yeah. Now, a lot of people are defeated by the lack of patience. Yeah. Endurance, as I explained, is with things that are discomforting and also unpleasant. For example, sitting. A lot of people don't like sitting, meditating, because they say, oh, a lot of pain, numbness, and so on. They cannot endure. And because we cannot endure, we give up something that is so important, something that is going to bring us a lot of happiness and joy beyond what we have experienced in worldly life. You know, so for the lack of ability to endure, we miss out on a real treasure that we have never experienced in life. So this is a great, great missed opportunity. So when we develop endurance, when we develop the ability to stay with discomfort, soon that doesn't affect us that much. You know, when you sit and then you have pain, and then after some time you say, this is not too bad. And after some time it doesn't affect us anymore. Okay? Because we have developed the skill, the ability to overcome it by enduring it. Okay? Patience also is required when we sit and we don't have immediate results. You know, say, oh, all these meditation courses and teachers, they promise me joy beyond the worldly, you know, peace beyond the deep sleep, and so many other benefits. Then after a few weeks, I sit here, the bo le, not yet. You have to develop patience. You know, a lot of people, because of impatience, the craving comes in already. I want result. I want result. I don't want discomfort. Craving for results, craving for comfort, craving for enlightenment, craving for wisdom, craving for peace. Craving, craving, craving. And when they don't have it, or when they have pain, when they have numbness and so on, aversion, aversion, aversion. Loba, 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 dosa, dosa, dosa. That's a new dance. Loba, dosa, dosa, loba, 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 dosa. You know, that kind of thing. Jumping, jumping, jumping. And the person, moha, 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 moha. Delusion, delusion, delusion. That is the root of suffering. That is the cause of samsara. Let's go on like that and like that. Sampai bila kau tisi? When are we going to see that? You know, seeing the Dhamma is noticing that. You know, so when loba come, our habit, kante, kante, tell ourselves, patience, patience. When this numbness and so on come, boredom comes, tell ourselves, kante, kante, endurance, endure. You know, endurance, kante, patience, kante, endure, endurance, endurance. Then the force of the habit of craving and aversion slowly diminishes. Otherwise, they become strong when we indulge in them. Correct or not? When we indulge, the craving becomes stronger and stronger. The craving in Hokkien, we say, ubin liao. Ubin liao. got face already. You always give in to it. So, jinja ubin liao. Yeah, very strong. Aversion also the same thing. Cause you ubin liao. So we have to face with this. We are caught in suffering. Yeah, it's a difficult situation we have put ourselves into. So that's why Khanti, this patient endurance, is the chief discipline. Because we need discipline in order to be patient and to endure. You know? And this tapo means literally to burn away. To burn away what? To burn away causes of suffering. Tapa means the fire burning, literally. It burns away causes for suffering, which is craving and aversion and delusion. And that is why Khanti is the incinerator of the causes of suffering. It really literally diminishes the causes of suffering. Yeah. Nibbanam paramang vadanti Buddha. Nibbana, or what you call peace, yeah, is the highest. So teaches the Buddha. Nibbanam paramang. Paramang in English is paramount. Yeah, paramount. Nibbana is paramount. Vadanti, so say the Buddha. All the Buddhas say Nibbana is the highest. Many people say, oh, this is the absolute bliss, this yoga, or this enjoyment, or this happiness. They have these various experiences of different levels of delight. But the Buddha says that is not ultimate yet. The ultimate bliss is Nibbana. Beyond that, there is nothing. Yeah? So some people are stuck with lower levels of happiness and delight and get attached to it. And that attachment itself, that upadana itself, gives rise to suffering. But in Nibbana, this word itself means the lack of attachment. There is no grasping. Ni means no. Vana means grasping or attachment. Nirvana means letting go of grasping already. All other delights give rise to grasping. This delight is free from grasping. That is why it is the highest delight or highest bliss. Yeah. So understand this statement? The Buddha says, Khanti is the incinerator of the causes of suffering. And because we incinerate the causes of suffering, we have non-grasping, we have no causes of suffering, and therefore we free ourselves and we can attain the highest bliss of Nibbana. Okay? This is what this line means. The Buddha continues, Nahi pabajito paru upagati. Yeah? Nahi. Pabajita means a practitioner, yeah? An ascetic. Yeah? A person who practices Dhamma is called pabajita. One is therefore not an ascetic. One is therefore not a practitioner if we hurt or injure others. If we hurt or injure others, we are not a true practitioner of Dhamma. So many people, when we want to practice Dhamma, we think of ourselves suffering, but we also have to extend, think of other people's suffering. A person who practices Dhamma should not cause suffering to others. We should not injure or harm others. And by not injuring and harming others, we don't cause injury and harm to ourselves. Yeah? There is no result of that karma to injure and harm ourselves. How do we injure and harm others? It is the same three roots that we use to injure and harm ourselves or others. That is having desire and craving. That's having anger and enmity. That's having delusion and foolishness. Towards ourselves or others, when we express it, when we do anything with lobha, dosa, and moha, we injure ourselves and we may harm others in the process. So a person who is a practitioner of Dhamma should not harm others. We remain harmless in our life. This is the life of Dhamma. Yeah. Samano hoti parang vihetayanto. Yeah. And he who oppresses others is not an ascetic or not a practitioner of Dhamma. Samana means, again, the practitioner of Dhamma. If we oppress others, how do we oppress others? Yeah. Here, vihetayanto means being hostile to others, having aversion towards others. It's the opposite of having loving kindness and compassion towards others. Yeah. In other words, if we count ourselves as a Dhamma practitioner, naturally we must have loving kindness to ourselves and others, compassion towards ourselves and others, without exception. There is no oppression or hostility towards other people in terms of our thoughts, in terms of our speech and action. Whenever we have thoughts of hostility towards others, there we are indulging our defilements already, our unwholesome habits. We are making it stronger and stronger. And it's more difficult for us to purify the mind. Yeah? Everyone have thought of purifying the mind before? Anyone has thought of purifying the mind before? Huh? No Buddhists? Yeah, that's what the Buddha taught, right? Purify one's own mind. But if we keep having these thoughts of hostility towards others, are we purifying or are we defiling our own minds? Yeah? Are we making it pure or are we making it worse? Worse. That's why the Buddha says, a true practitioner of Dhamma should not oppress others nor have hostility towards others. We should not injure or harm others. We should live a harmless life. Then only we can purify our own minds. If our minds are full of thoughts, intentionally or mindfully or unmindfully, we want to harm other people, we are making our minds worse, stained by defilements, more difficult to purify. Yeah? So eventually we harm ourselves when we harm others. When our minds are so defiled, so deep in the root of defilements, how can we be happy? There is no other way but being unhappy. So we harm ourselves too when we harm others. Yeah? Then the Buddha advised, anupavado, not insulting, anupagato, not harming, patimokke cha sangvaro, restrain ourselves according to the fundamental discipline. Yeah? For the monks, they have the patimokkha sila. They have the discipline of the monks. They have the precepts of the monks. They have the training rules of the monks. But for lay people, we also have fundamental discipline. For example, the 5 precepts. Yeah? So restrain ourselves in relation to fundamental discipline or keeping the precepts. Keeping the precepts is not following rules. Yeah. Many societies are rule-based societies. Many countries are rule-based societies. We are not following the law, but here we are restraining ourselves. We are not following the law out of fear of punishment, but we are restraining ourselves, knowing that an unrestrained mind causes harm and injury to oneself and others. An unrestrained mind indulges itself and generates a lot of defilements. It becomes impure. By restraining ourselves, we slowly can purify our minds. This is why we restrain ourselves. Restrain ourselves against what principle? Against fundamental discipline. Like 5 precepts for the lay people. Panati pata veramani, not to hurt, not to injure other beings, not to kill other beings. Adina dana veramani, not to take things not given freely. Don't breed the greed. This one can take or not, looks very nice. I cannot take lah. Why? Keep 5 precepts. Yeah. So at first it's like that, slowly. Children are like that. They say, no. They want to take something from the roadside and so on, want to pluck some flowers. No, Zheng hu bo gong esai lu de be sai. Government say cannot pluck flowers here. No permission given. Don't pluck. But when they grow up, because don't pluck, they still don't understand. But one day, finally, because they have been doing it for such a long time, it suddenly dawns upon them, hey, because I don't do it, I don't have greed to do it. Because I don't indulge myself, I don't have a habit of doing this. And once they understand, oh, this is called restraint, and I free myself from this greed, I free myself from this trouble for so many years already, they'll be very grateful for it. You see? So this is what we can keep. Yeah. Patimokkha sangvaro. Sangvaro is the key word here. Restraint. Yeah. We should restrain ourselves not to gossip. Yeah. People also have to learn not to gossip about others. When you gossip about others, is it about good things or bad things usually? Yeah? Is there good gossip? No. Good gossip is called Dhamma talk. So this is wholesome. But when we gossip, we like to point out the flaws of others, right? And worse than that, people take delight in it. You see, when you talk about the good of others, oh, this brother, really, I tell you, very good, You see, everyone fall asleep. But when we talk about, this terrible person, I don't know. Let me tell you the whole story. Everyone stay alert. You see, so naturally, almost. Why is that so? Because there's no restraint. We should practice restraint. The alertness is used wrongly. So it's not the right kind of mindfulness and concentration. It's wrong. Yeah. So restraint is the key word. Mata nyuta cha batasmin. Mata nyuta, knowing the right measure. Yeah. Nyuta means knowing. Mata means the measure. Knowing the right measure when it comes to food. Batasmin. Yeah, food is a base requirement. Everyone needs food. Everyone survives by having food. So in good societies, good life, due to good karma, like in Singapore, food is plentiful. Good food is, everywhere. So people have a food trail, And when we start having good food, what happens? A lot of people get stuck with wanting good food. Yeah? Many people tasted already. These noodles, very good. Then if you go to another place and taste the noodles, then you start to have a comparison. Oh, this one no good. Next time I bring you there, good one. So after that, you look for something better, something good. Here good, there good. If Singapore cannot find, then I go Johor, go Ipoh, go Penang, go Bangkok, go Hong Kong. Go everywhere looking for it. Is there no food in Singapore? Food is plentiful, but we go all the way. Why? Driven by need? No. Driven by what? Desires. Driven by desires. Supreme effort. Driven by desire for sensual delights. So when we know the right measure for taking food, we know the right purpose of taking food, then the whole construct changes already. Patisankha yoniso, thinking carefully, reflecting with wisdom. Bhojanang patisevami, I take this food, bhojana, this food. Neva dhavayana madayana mandanayana vibhushanaya. I take it not because fond of the taste, not playfully, not indulging myself, not for beautifying the body, and so on. Yavadeva imasa kayasa titiya, but just to sustain my physical body, to give me strength. Food is needed for strength and growth. Yeah? So that I can continue living a noble way of life. Without strength, want to come to BF on Sunday morning, also difficult. Buay pe lao tui. You cannot climb the steps. Yeah? So with some strength, we are able to climb. Otherwise, carry others. We are able to do service. We are able to stay alert. Without strength, we can't even stay alert to listen to a talk. So all this is the purpose of food. And knowing the right measure of food leads to a lot of other knowing. Yeah? You start by knowing the right measure of food and knowing to restrain yourselves. And this leads to a lot of other knowledge of important things. The Buddha has many of such knowledge. It's called Vijja Charana Sampanno. The Buddha is endowed with knowledge and virtues, knowledge and conduct, supreme, Sampanno. One of the knowledge is knowing the right amount of food to take, how much we need. More than that, it breeds our greed. Okay? Pantangja Sayanasanang. Yeah, Sayanasanang means a resting place, a bed, and so on. Pantang means remote. Remote means not always in your bed, not always in your couch, not always in your massage chair. When you see the bed, wow, cannot resist the bed. Always lying there, sleeping, napping, wallowing here and there, rolling here and there, from left to right, north to south. Yeah. In the practitioner, in the people, bhikkhus and yogis in the forest, they are remote from the bed. As you wake up already, you get up. Yeah? You don't continue to noa here, noa there. It's very warm, very nice. Just immediately. This is called pantang sayanasanang. With food, it is measured, but with resting place, we also measured. Yeah, we also don't indulge ourselves. Yeah. Then only adicitta cha ayogo. Ayogo here means devotion to or in pursuit of adicitta, of higher mind. Literally higher mind. It means thoughts of renunciation and enlightenment. Thoughts of renunciation and enlightenment is called adicitta. That's a higher mind. The lower mind, the base mind, the common mind of people, the mentality of the majority of people is indulgence, is sensuality, is what you call comfort, delight in worldly things. But the higher mind is don't find delight in worldly things, but find delight in renunciation. As I said, renounce evil and the mind is very peaceful. When you renounce greed, the contentment brings a lot of peace. When you renounce injuring, harming others, the spirit of metta and karuna, loving kindness and compassion, becomes strengthened. And metta, karuna, strengthened, brings about a great deal of empowerment to goodness and skill towards Nibbana. You just feel so joyful with a lot of loving kindness and so on. Just feel so joyful. And that loving kindness is not tainted with anger towards certain people. It's just universally loving kindness. And that's wonderful. And in that situation, we can have adicitta cha ayogo. We can direct the mind in pursuit of higher goals. We can develop the mind to have this higher mind, thoughts of Nibbana. And we will have the confidence in it already. When we have not done all those things, we also think of Nibbana, right? Occasionally at home, think of Nibbana or not? While watching TV? Watching TV, switch channel, so boring. Nibbana better. But when we haven't done all these things, even when we think of Nibbana, it has no power, it has no strength, it has no effect, it has no impact. Because why? It's not ready. It's like a log, a wood. You soak in water and say, may I light fire with this wood. It is so wet, it won't happen. Renunciation means to take the log out of the water, to put it on a high ground and to dry it thoroughly. When the wood is thoroughly dry, if you wish to make a fire with that log, you can do it successfully. When we indulge in sensuality, it is like being soaked, a piece of wood being soaked in water. We cannot sustain a fire. We cannot even light a fire with that log. Correct or not? So what is the meaning of water? it is the world of sensuality. If we are drowning, we are soaking in sensuality, we cannot achieve Nibbana. You see? We have to be remote. We have to be taken out of what you call the water first. Singapore is surrounded by water, right? Yeah. Also drowning in sensuality, right? Everywhere we go, advertisements calling out for your dollars. And, calling out for indulgence. Do this, do that, join this, join that. There's so many things. There is nothing that tells us renunciation is good. Nibbana is the highest bliss. Nowhere is it telling us, not enough signals to tell us that truth. So when we are soaking in sensuality and we want Nibbana, it doesn't happen. And then we get dejected and disappointed. So the step by step is given in these 3 verses, how we can gear ourselves towards Nibbana. And my dear friends, this is a very important conclusion. That Nibbana can be attained in this very life. In this very life. In this very life. In this. Your very life. But perhaps not with your very lifestyle. It can be attained in this very life, but maybe not with our lifestyle. Our lifestyle must be adjusted. Abandon all those defilements. Cultivate the skillfulness. Practice restraint according to the fundamental discipline we lead our lives. Not harming others, not oppressing others. Don't be hostile to others. With food and indulgences, know our measure. With resting, just have enough. But the rest of the time, be active. Be actively pursuing the higher goal. This etang, Buddhana, all Buddhas, sasanang, teaching. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. Okay? So this is the summary, we call it the Uposatha Patimokkha. Yeah? This is the teaching of the Buddha given on Uposatha. Yeah? To remind ourselves what is actually the most important thing in our spiritual life. So I'd like everyone to go through again together, shall we? With faith, devotion, and a lot of zeal. Yeah? Have spirit already? Yes. Every time before going home, sure spirit very high. Okay. Now, everyone, mindfully, devotionally, remember you have to memorize it by today. Promise? Yes. How many people don't promise? Don't go back. Yeah? Promise, then can go back. Yeah? Because why? When we memorize it, understand it, it stays. Isn't it wonderful if the Dhamma stays with us? If the Dhamma stays with you, then you are also staying with the Dhamma, isn't it? Yeah? If your goldfish stay with you, then by definition, you're also staying with your goldfish. So if we memorize the Dhamma, it stays with us. And it happens that at a point of time, maybe when we need it, or maybe when we are reflective, it appears in our minds. And this is when we are reminded of the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha, again and again. This is why it is very helpful, very useful when we memorize. And this is just one verse. You just remember the first verse. But you have to learn it properly. All the meaning that has been explained, learn it properly. Okay? And don't misinterpret it. Sabba papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada Sacita pariyodapanang etang buddhana sasanang. The meaning, not to commit any unwholesome deeds, to cultivate the skillful, and to purify one's own mind. This is the teaching of all Buddhas. Khanti paramang tapo titika Nibbanang paramang vadanti Buddha. Nahi pabajito parupagati. Samano hoti parang vihetayanto. Forbearing patience is the highest austerity. Nibbana is supreme, say the Buddhas. He who harms another is not a recluse. He who oppresses others is not an ascetic. Anupavado anupagato. Pattimukhe ca sangvaro. Mata nyuta ca batasmin. Pantang ca sayana senang. Adiccitta ca ayogo. Etang buddhana sasanang. Not insulting, not harming, restrain according to the moral code, cultivating moderation in food, secluded abode, with mind trained on higher thoughts. This is the teaching of all enlightened ones. Yeah. Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm very glad to spend the morning with everyone, and wish everyone a pleasant practice. Carry on with a lot of confidence. Learn the proper Dhamma. Yeah, there's a lot of Dhamma out there today, but you can see from the words of the Buddha himself, it's just like hearing what the Buddha himself said when we read the Pali verses. And this is the path. This is the path to liberation. If we are not careful, when we learn the wrong things or misrepresented teachings, it might not be the path to liberation. That's just the path to confusion. Yeah. So we get more and more confused, convoluted, and further away from liberation. So I wish everyone a wonderful practice on the true Dhamma. Sukhi hontu.
Brother Tan, would you like to maybe share with us about, as a gratitude to India, the exciting program that you have about revitalizing Buddhism in India? Thank you. I think they will be interested to know.
Dr. Henry, thank you. I recently went to India and visited many Buddhist communities. I've heard of many new Buddhist communities in India, and they are so spirited. Yeah, in Malaysia and Singapore, we have Buddhist communities for the last 100 years, but somehow when I went to visit India, the new Buddhists have a lot of zeal, a lot of spirit, but unfortunately they don't have good teachers. So they just knew, oh, Buddha taught us to be good, but exactly what the Buddha taught, they have little access to. If you check on the internet, then you probably will get a lot of mixed teachings, not pure teachings, but mixed teachings of the Buddha that adds to the confusion and convolution of the mind. So India needs help from other Buddhist communities from Southeast Asia to go back to repay the debt of Mother India, who gave us the Buddha, who gave us the Dhamma and the original Sangha. You know, India is the motherland of Buddhism, and the future of Buddhism in the world will be strong with India at the forefront. You know. So there's a program to revitalize Buddhism in India by training teachers, by bringing the teachers out of India, and by sending teachers to India as well on a half-yearly basis. Secondly, we are taking youth leaders out of India to be trained in Malaysia, Indonesia, other countries in collaboration with several Buddhist organizations, and send them back to India to organize more Dhamma classes and organize camps for children, teenagers, as well as undergraduates. So this is part of the program to revitalize Buddhism in India. So we have embarked on this. And also to print relevant books. There are many books that we print and send there. They are not properly distributed, or they are distributed to the wrong places. They are given to people who cannot read. And the wrong language are printed. India is very diverse, and sometimes it's just not their tongue. So all these can be improved upon. Even communities I visited don't have Buddha images. So we have recently sent some Buddha images to India. At least one village will have one Buddha image. So we have 500 across the villages. And very, very important that people outside India understand that. You know, you have the puja book in BF. We also have a puja book. When I went to India in 2008, I was giving a talk in Sarnath, where the Buddha first preached. And then there were a few locals, Indians also, who were visiting Sarnath at the same time. They were not from Sarnath, they are from Haryana, different state. And some of them stood there to listen to my explanation to the pilgrims. And after the talk, a few of them came in Indian style, touched the feet, and asked me for something that they can bring and read. So I didn't have anything with me except the puja book. So I gave them the puja book, and that's about it. But when I went back to India, just I think 2 years ago, when it was announced that I would come on a pilgrimage at Bodh Gaya, this man took a train and showed up 6 years later. And he came and saw me at the Mahabodhi. I didn't recognize him. It's easier to recognize a Chinese in Bodh Gaya than to recognize an Indian in India. That I reckon. And when he showed me the puja book, then I recall. That puja book was totally covered in writing, inside, outside. It was what you call very worn. And every line, you know, very well used. So when I went back to Malaysia, I said, Allah ni kalau sin. Oh, that look like new one. You'll never use. This one, use and use. My tears just flowed. And at that time, I realized, you know, sometimes you're reminded by these kinds of things. I realized that how fortunate we are, but how unfortunate. We are fortunate because we have all the facilities and facilitators. Unfortunate because we never appreciate, we never know the value. We never make good use of our time. And people over there don't even have a Buddha image. And they don't even have a book that they can read every day. So that sparked my interest on how to repay the debt of gratitude to India. So I'd just like to share with you some of the things that I witnessed and that inspired and touched me deeply. And at the same time, it made me reflect that how on our part, we have not really been diligent. We are actually wasting our very good fortune as a human birth. How we should actually pick it up and never, relent in our practice of Dhamma. You know. So just to share with everyone. Yeah. So every day when we have thoughts, please think of our motherland, our spiritual motherland, India. Though we are not Indians, but we are karmically connected. Yeah, and one day, in the right way, let us make India become the fountainhead of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha again. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, sadhu. Yeah. pain or other kinds of pain?
Let's say from a situation that is suffering, say, for example, in
Work? Okay, that's very general. It's not a pain of numbness, right? Yeah, okay. When do we know to walk away, yeah, with wisdom? And when do we endure? Yeah. There are certain times where we are hurt physically, yeah. We are hurt, what you call mentally, in an abusive relationship. This is where we should not endure the abuses, because it's bad for the people who do it. It's bad for us psychologically, physically as well. So there are times where we have to consult with wise teachers and decide to walk away from abuses. Yeah, but a lot of times we don't face that kind of abuse. We face unpleasantness. For example, people ignore us. Yeah, when they have any shopping trips, they don't call us. Yeah, when they have makan trip, they forgot to call us. When they tapao, they forgot to tapao for us. Those are unpleasantness. This one we have to endure. It's not abusive when they don't tapao for us, right? We have to endure. And sometimes criticism from colleagues, criticism from family members, from neighbors, we have to endure. Why? They are not harmful in a way. It only injures our ego. And this is the ego that we are trying to protect, that gives us more fragility. So we have to reduce that ego. So that situation we endure. So for beginners, if we don't know, one good resource is to seek counsel from wise teachers and kalyana mitras, and to hear what wise teachers have to say about that situation, to take counsel. Okay? Yeah. And for the physical endurance, sometimes when we sit, we are able to sit for 5 minutes, and then it starts to have pain and so on. So we say, bui sai liao, tuin liao, I see liao. And then, okay, that's the limit of our endurance, 5.5 minutes. Then we stand up, and then continue. Determination helps. Then we sit. The next time we can endure 15 minutes, before we relent. Then the next time we can endure 40 minutes. And after some time, we find that our endurance is greater, our patience is deeper, and we have spiritual progress already. So with a lot of things, when we endure, we find ourselves deeper, more anchored in the Dhamma. And this is really helpful, and this is called spiritual progress. Okay?
So, brothers and sisters, I think that's enough for today. We're running out of time. So,